Hi, ClapperCast friends. Just quickly before this episode, I wanted to reach out specifically here on YouTube and say that we're still learning and getting used to the whole video thing. After 100 episodes of just audio, we're still kind of figuring it out. And this week, we just totally clicked the wrong button and we did not record a video. We meant to be. So just know this will be an audio only episode on the podcast here. If you want to listen to it on the other platforms where podcasts are found, I think that would make total sense. And just know next week, visuals are coming back. We're still getting used to it. Totally on me. But enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to ClapperCast, episode 136. I love that every single time I start one of these now that there's video, it's me saying the intro and the other two laughing at me. I'm your host, Carson Tamar, joined by other host, Paul Price, and again, Michael Fairbanks. Since our relaunch, now technically the first return guest, more of a host than some hosts, but that's okay. How are you guys doing today?
Good. We had much less interesting New Year's Eves than former co-host Alina, who was texting us about how drunk her dad was.
Let's be clear, Alina's still a host. Put in the MCU end credit, Alina will return. Alina's alive. I can't say she's doing well, but she's alive. So
getting through.
Yeah. Sure. She's here in spirit, right? Michael, how are you doing?
I'm just happy that I got a little time to have some time off and let my brain rest and catch up on some movies and make these little lists. And
are you making any
come
TikToks?
On shows like this?
How's the TikTok
Many
going?
TikToks.
Good.
So many TikToks. Paul's been watching.
The amount of times I have to click not interested on those TikToks just to try to help the algorithm. And it's like, no. You talk to him. Don't you want to see every single one of his TikToks, including TikToks from June? And I'm like, no, I do not need to see his opinion from a movie from June.
Paul, that's why you just gotta mute him like I did. Just block. Easy.
It'll be like, would you like to see his Black Adam review? And I'm like, no.
Didn't want to watch the movie, much less his review. Peace and love, Michael.
And what's also funny is he gets the King of Burbank live every single day. He hears it. I wouldn't blame him because he hears everything I have to say in these videos. Same thing with my girlfriend. Both of y'all don't watch them because you hear it pretty much.
That's so funny. An update. Yes, I did have COVID. So the past 2 episodes, I was just sitting there with COVID. And the thing that's really frustrating for me about that is I got it in the stupidest way possible. Going to a work party. Oh, God. I've done so many dangerous things, and that's what gets me. A work party. Absolutely repulsive. And the fact that I had to work through COVID was a real bonus point. It was
that's
sitting
terrible.
there and they're like, cool. Could you still get some stuff done?
To be fair, yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry you're dying.
You can be more productive.
I was literally, I had to get Paxlovid and not in I had to get Paxlovid. I had to get Paxlovid in a I might die kind of way. It hit me hard, right after the podcast.
What a wild episode, too, if you would have died between now and then. I mean, really.
I know.
Well, we don't have any new films to talk about because no new films have really come out in the past week because it is New Year's. So instead, we're going to take a look back at today's episode at 2022 in film, talk about some things we liked, some things we disliked, and go through it. And why don't we start with talking about some of our favorite performances? I will say quickly that this is not necessarily our actual top lists necessarily. It's just things we want to shout out and highlight that we enjoyed. Paul, do you want to begin things with your favorite performance? What did you actually like this year? Because every week we hear about what you hate. What did you like?
No, that is not true. That is not the truth, Ellen.
Someone go through and give me a ratio, please. I will pay you $30.
It is definitely true.
No, the thing is, we just don't talk about the movies I like. It's really funny because we'll be like, oh, let's skip over this movie. And I'll be like, oh, I love that. I'll watch it 6 weeks after the review. And I'm like, I would have talked about that. And now I can. I would say I had a lot of performances that I really liked that were the traditional ones. Really liked Colin Farrell in Banshees. I really liked, Kate Blanchett and Tar, those kind of things. But like the one of the ones that really hit me, of course, was Sophia Capel in Pleasure. That's like a really difficult performance, and when you talk about like great performances in terms of you lose yourself in the character, I feel like she really did that. um Another one for me was it was kind of the year of Zoe Deutsch a little bit, like way that it bubbled under the surface, and then she's going to get a Marvel movie and she's going to be like the it girl. It's going to happen soon, but specifically in Not Okay, which really allowed her to be both the comedy that we know and also really get to be a huge like emotional heart to the film, which I love that film, but I do think that it has some like a little bit of script issues occasionally, and she's able to like push through those. And it's like, even when I'm not vibing with the film, she's so great. It kind of pulls it together. In terms of like comedy performances, John Hamm in Confess Fletch. You're so used to him being Don Draper from Mad Men, or playing this like, you know, overall kind of like he was in Top Gun Maverick playing the straight lace guy, and in this he gets to be the goofball, and he's like got a dad bod, and it's just there's something about him that's so fun in that performance. That film's really under the radar. I feel like it's kind of in the same school as Barb and Star last year, where it's just like, oh, what happened to that movie that is very funny. Um, and then my like last one I would say is like Jenny Slate and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I also had some issues with that movie. I really love it overall, but I think it's a little too twee at some points. But I think that her performance really kills it, and is much like her with Scarlett Johansson, where it's like we should start discussing voiceover performances a little bit more because sometimes they're really, really, really good. But what do you guys pick?
So for me, I think a lot of the movies and performances that I responded to this year were much more weird, kind of like genre movies than the awards bait, and I think that really comes out in my favorite performances. And there's definitely going to be awkward giggles at some of these. The first, the first one I'm going to say is Jake Gyllenhaal in Ambulance.
A
Um,
movie I don't remember.
because Paul, what was so funny is when Paul and I saw Ambulance, the second the heist started, Paul fell asleep, and
On
then
Michael.
and
Just
then
like laid down. It was like, I'm going to sleep.
and then woke up at the end. So he didn't. Someday you're gonna watch Ambulance and go, "Holy fuck!" But
Michael,
This
onto the
certainly is a
podcast
movie.
review, he was like, so I slept through it all. I don't know what happened in it, but I loved the film. And
I had a
were
lot
like,
of
what?
fun.
You
Oh, no,
slept
no, no,
through it.
no. What I said was I made it through the first, I think, 45 minutes. And then I fell asleep through the entire heist. And then I woke up at the end and I was like, oh, this is a good movie. And I know things happened, but like, I do like when I've done this a lot this year, is where I'll like fall asleep during a movie and be like, okay, I woke up. I know what happened. I did that with Black Adam. I did that
Well,
with.
sure.
It's also because one of two things happen. Either we pregame and there's just a little too much pregaming, or um, my friend Chris, friend of the podcast, likes to watch movies at 10 p.m.
Uh,
And so you're in the theater at 10 p.m. and you're like, okay, well, this movie's not doing it for me, so I will see you on the other side.
obsessed with you pre-gaming for the 10:15 showing of Black Adam. Love
that's
that.
pretty much what happens around
Yeah.
here. It could be the most like it could be a man called Otto, and we'll be taking shots at
Well, of
in the
course.
bar. But to get back to it, I think that ever since Nightcrawler, he's been kind of struggling to find something that could really match that intensity level, and I really feel like his unhinged nature and Michael Bay's unhinged nature just like complemented each other perfectly. It was just such a beautiful combination because Michael Bay just let Jake Gyllenhaal is just so fully anally screaming throughout that entire movie. And it's just like he gets so much out of these just little beats that are pretty much just like demanding the other characters to do something, but he just brings so much just like depth to it, or as much as he can in such a crazy action movie like that. And I really think like action movie performances get undervalued because they are so reactive, but I really appreciated him in that. Another one in a similar vein would be David Howard Thornton in Terrifier 2. That's the man who plays Art the Clown, and I think that what he does with his face and his body language is so remarkable, and it's kind of like, it's weird because it's not, I wouldn't say subtle per se, but like if you're not really examining like everything that he's doing to make this clown just so fucking unnerving at every moment, it almost just passes you by because it feels so natural. But I don't think that there's been kind of like a slasher villain that's had that much presence and that much just sheer character in some time, especially one that doesn't talk. That's the other thing, because that character is completely silent. You
Oh,
don't
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he doesn't speak. He doesn't make any noise. There's no
Carson,
like.
have you watched those?
No,
Oh, that's surprising.
I don't.
Because I hear that they're like, because it's like
That.
the same kind of fans as the Saw movies.
No,
which
but I
you
read
love all
like
those.
a recap and it sounded really gross, and like I'm not gonna
Yeah,
do it.
okay, that's why I can't watch any of the Saw movies, because I read those recaps, and you're like, they're fine.
I think you would be surprised because it's just like, it's much more fun overall as a movie than you might expect. Like it's not like dour or bleak. It has like a very hyper sarcastic comedic tone, and it's kind of grindhousey without like really like doing too much with like the kitschiness of that. Like it just sort of has that like lo-fi slasher budget, low budget slasher appeal just kind of naturalistically. But I really loved that, and I loved his performance. And then like as far as actual like genuine dramatic like quote unquote real movies that I think are being sort of underserved, I really loved Aubrey Plaza's performance in Emily the Criminal. If people are into her right now because of The White Lotus, I really recommend that they check that movie out. It's very much in the same vein. It's kind of a slow burn crime thriller about just sort of like how fucked millennials are in the current economy, and she really just like brings that subtle boiling rage to life so perfectly, and she sort of transmits her comedic persona into subtle dramatic performance in a really impressive way. And then the last one I'll say is Christopher Abbott in On the Count of Three, Gerard Carmichael's movie. I really love Gerard's movies in general, or Gerard's work in general. And On the Count of Three is a favorite. It's a story of two suicidal best friends, and Christopher Abbott is the significantly more suicidal one. And I thought that he really played this very kind of fragile, very ill character without it turning into a stereotype or like an over the top, just crazy, like I'm a psychotic guy. Like it was really just very rooted in what felt like real people's pain. And I think if like that movie had crossed over into the mainstream more, I think he'd be up for supporting actor.
Yeah, this feels like one of those years that where a lot of films, I think, are just like, it didn't make it to the mainstream, but I really liked it. And it's like really disappointing, and I don't understand exactly what happened.
And then the problem is
Yeah.
that all the ones that did kind of break through, I don't like that much. Like
Yeah.
there were a few, there are a handful, but a lot of the ones that were like real awards contenders, I'm just lukewarm on them for some reason. And I think it's really just because like the genre movies brought it this year. Even something like Everything Everywhere All at Once is a genre movie. Like, and then some things just have a hard time comparing when it's just
Certainly is a movie that exists.
Paul,
Yep.
save it.
It
We're trying to
definitely-
we're trying to be liked, Paul.
It definitely is. Oh, should I take it off my list?
No, you should. We'll get to it. I guess I'll go with my list now. Look, I love silly little dudes. Example, Jared Leto in House of Gucci. I love when actors just give very strange performances. So, of course, the double bill this year of Tom Hanks and Elvis and Mark Rylance and Bones and all. Absolutely loved both of them. They're both just out there with weird accents, being silly little dudes who are kind of creepy and weird and like bad, but I love them. They're two of my favorite performances of the year. I think Tom Hanks and Elvis, especially, like the venom he ends up bringing at the end, I think is really impressive. So I like both of them. I love silly little dudes. I don't like Barry Keoghan normally. I'm going to be honest, to the point where Jump Scare of the Year was in Batman when he shows up as the Joker. And the only reaction I could muster up after the Batman, sat there for 3 hours. I told the PR person, I texted Paul, how is he getting these roles? Because I think there's not a single actor. Let's be clear. I think he has a talent to him. I don't think anyone understands his presence on screen because they keep putting him in like these wicked, like, roles of power. In the Green Knight, they had him be one of those characters. The Joker is one of those characters, and he like just doesn't work. But Banshees of Inisherin gets him in a way he's not been understood since the killing of a sacred deer. He's just like this innocent little goofy loser kid, and you love him. That scene with Carrie Condon, I'm so happy it's coming up, where he's like, oh, you wouldn't want to fall in love with a boy like me. He's adorable. It's great. Put him in these silly little goofy roles. Don't have him be there being like, I'm the Joker, because he's bad. He's really bad there. But he could be a good actor. And Banshees of Inisherin gets a lot right. But mainly, I think it's impressive they get Barry Keoghan right. And then since I'm gay, I'm going to say Billy Eichner and Bros, because that character is just me. If you want to see me on the big screen, go watch Bros. And Billy Eichner, quite literally, there's lines from that film I've said in real life, like before Bros came out. I love him. Paul hates him. He hates me, I assume also. I cannot wait till we meet up IRL and he just hates me. But I love Billy Eichner and Bros. So those are my performances. Really just a lot of like silly, goofy bros having a good time on the big screen.
It's actually so wild that Billy Eichner embarrassed himself so much that even though I like Bros, I'm still embarrassed for you that you said that.
All he said, not to get into it, but all he said was that like people were homophobic. Yeah, they fucking are. Welcome. Like, hi.
No,
I wrote a whole
but he
article.
definitely, yeah.
As they should be.
Oh,
After Bros, we will be discussing that later.
I'm so happy you watched. I was like, you need to watch it before this episode.
Most annoying performances.
Oh, I know. I was so. Paul was texting me while he was watching this. He's like, "This is the worst fucking thing I've ever seen."
Yeah,
I had to pause and go take an anger walk.
That's why I wanted you to watch it. I said like, you need to watch this because it will be on that list.
Also, I really want to see the movie where Mark Rylance and Bones and All and Tom Hanks and Elvis are like brothers or something.
A road trip movie with yes.
Oh God,
Raymond and Ray, but it's those two.
Yes. Didn't see Raymond and Ray. I think only you and Alina saw it, but like, sure, I assume it's right.
That's in my top 10 of the year.
I've heard it's really good.
Raymond and Ray. Yeah, I saw Alina liked it too. That one is very underrated, especially if you like both of them, Ethan Hawke and Ewan McGregor. You should probably check it out. It's very good.
I do, but I only want to watch it because I'm an Apple TV Plus stan, and like I just want to watch all their films because like they're just
one of the best things they've ever had.
You are? Why?
Because all their movies are like pretty good, other than Cherry
and Coda.
Okay,
we don't Spirited.
Okay, no, Spirited was fun.
We don't talk about Coda. No.
If Alina was on this podcast, Spirited would probably be in her favorite films of the year. So I liked it.
Screenplays.
Well, first, let's talk about the ClapperCast family on Twitter who put in some of their selections. I'm not going to read all of them, but we did ask people to share their opinions on some of these. I will say...
We asked people for their opinions?
Yes, because we're promoting engagement. Jordan Dennis put Austin
Okay, I'm going to judge them. I'm ready.
Okay, sure. Jordan Dennis, Austin Butler, and Elvis.
Fine. Yeah, I like that performance, actually. In a movie I don't like.
I'm not going to read all of them. Someone by the name of Nuanced Film Takes put Kristen Stewart in Crimes of the Future.
Period.
It is my favorite line from a movie I haven't seen. I have watched it has very, very potent meaning like 300 times. It kills me every single time, so I'm going to agree.
That's literally how she acts the whole time.
I'm sure, and I should watch the movie because like it is so funny to me. It's so good.
I think you would like it. I think you would like that one.
I think you would like it more than you liked her in Spencer, but that's not very hard to do.
Yeah, that's not saying much.
Chris Gonzo gave us multiple. He said Maya Goth and Pearl and Daniel Bruhl in All Quiet on the Western Front.
I was going to say Mia Goth and Pearl. I've actually forgot to. I think that performance should be nominated.
Did you see Pearl?
No, I didn't see Pearl. I keep waiting for it to come out on something, and then I realized it was A24, and so like it's not. So I just need to rent it.
Yeah. It's just like I think I have it actually. If you want to borrow it, when I give you Pleasure back, I can let you borrow Pearl.
When I give you pleasure. When
um,
I get wait. When I give you pleasure, I'll give you pearl is
when
a
I
horrifying sentence.
when I give you your copy of the film Pleasure 2022 back that you let me borrow.
I got it. I got it.
uh, I was saying that I think as far as creating like an iconic new character, like kind of what I was saying about Terrifier, but on a bigger scale, I think Mia Goth in Pearl, that's an iconic
Yeah.
character now. I was just thinking the other day, I think Pearl might be the best prequel ever made. Like, I cannot think of a prequel that more completely eclipsed its original movie more so than Pearl, to the point to where the prequel is now all anyone talks about and no one gives a shit about X at all. Like as far as
Yeah.
just like the sheer functionality of being a prequel, I don't think there's a better prequel than Pearl.
I would argue Star Wars Episode 2, but that's okay.
You know what? I'm also a fan of episode 2, so
It's good.
we do not.
Every episode, we're going to just
absolutely-
mention a bad Star Wars take.
But I was gonna say, yeah, it's interesting because I do think, how much people love Pearl. I am curious about the rewatches of X to see if like her character shift like annoys people. If that becomes a thing that comes up, is like I loved her in this, but she's not really the same character because I know she's supposed to be significantly different personality wise.
I don't
I've
think
done it.
anyone who saw Pearl, like, I don't think they're watching X. I work with high schoolers, and like, Pearl's caught on in the high school community, I will say. Multiple people quote it every week. Like, it's weird how many high schoolers love that film. I'm sure no one even knows what X is, like, it even exists.
I've watched X back and after seeing Pearl. I think Pearl does make it better, but I just think that X jumps forward so much in time that you can see like where Pearl and X connect. But I honestly what I've been thinking since I saw Pearl is they should do a Maxine trilogy and a Pearl trilogy. And I think that would really like connect the whole story that Ty West is trying to tell. I think there's definitely at least one more Pearl movie, especially with how Pearl leaves off. I just like I feel like there's more to be done with her. But that's such an incredible performance. That monologue at the end of Pearl is next level.
Yeah, I'm excited for Maxine. I'm very curious. I like X more than Pearl, but I think she is fantastic in Pearl.
What I'm excited about with Maxine is they haven't revealed the cast yet, besides Mia.
Because it's not made yet. They've not made it. They've not done anything but the teaser.
I
Like,
think
I'm
they
sure they're
said
still
they were in
casting and
production.
everything.
I think it might have shot in secret.
Maybe. We'll see.
I don't know, but
And then we have Isaiah Henry, last one. I'll say Brendan Fraser for The Whale.
Fine.
yeah.
Sure. Like it's very much like one of those that I don't personally like, but I don't fault anyone for loving it. Like I get it. Like I mean, like I have performances that don't hit me correctly, but like when people are like, yeah, I loved it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I will say I really like Samantha Morton in that. Since we're talking about performances, I do think she should have been nominated. That's my hot take. Is where is Samantha Morton in all this? And I do think like just the fact that there were 3 female performances, she got lost, even though she's like, I think one of the strongest performances of the year. So I'm sorry, Samantha Morton, that I did not mention you for The Whale.
It's like The Whale is just such a like sad clown movie. Like at the end of the day, like that's just what it is. It's just this like pathetic portrayal of someone who isn't even like humanized. But it's so like trying to like implore upon you that it is humanizing, and the only reason that it even somewhat works is because of Brendan Fraser. But it was just so funny because when Paul and Chris and I saw The Whale, we were all talking about it afterwards, and like Paul was saying like I didn't like Brendan Fraser that much, and I didn't really think like he like emoted that well or whatever you said, and me and Chris were both just like, oh, he emoted. we were like, like he definitely displayed something.
Oh.
Well, moving on to favorite screenplays, which we mentioned, I will go first quickly. Again, Bros, I think it's very funny. I think it speaks to me. It's a very me movie, let's be clear. One of my favorite screenplays of the year. My other ones are Miss Harris Goes to Paris, another very
Oh
me
yeah, I needed to see
film.
that.
I think it's adorable. Not just as adorable, but I think it's like genuinely quite worthwhile on its conversation about like material goods and the value we put into things like clothes. And it feels very obvious that it's going to be like, oh, but that's all superficial and it's about humans and about like the emotions and our experiences together. But it doesn't go down that route. It's like, no, like things like clothes can make you feel good and that should be valued. And like we shouldn't just like act like they don't. And then my other screenplay, kind of fitting, is X. I think X is fantastically built. I think it's thematically rich. Another movie, Paul, you hate, but that's okay. You know, if
I hate
we
it for one scene.
sure,
Oh yeah.
I like that.
Pearl makes the scene that you hate in X make a lot more sense.
Don't believe that.
You'll see.
Paul, do a double feature. You're gonna love X all of a sudden. Michael, what are your favorite screenplays of the year?
So the three that I picked, the one that I mentioned already was On the Count of Three. I just am such. I think Gerard Carmichael is just one of the best kind of societal commentators that we have, and I think that as far as movies about mental health, particularly men and male mental health, and the differences that come within that, I think that script is just masterfully crafted and just very resonant and thought through, and a really great tonal balance as well. And it's edgy without turning into because it's like a buddy movie kind of, and it's edgy without turning into a bunch of like Quentin Tarantino witticisms where they're just kind of like talking about fucking nonsense. Like it's very much rooted always in the struggles that they're going through while still being funny and entertaining. Paul's gonna roll his eyes big time on this next one, but Armageddon Time is another one for me. Um, I think that Armageddon
No,
Time,
ew.
as far as all of the as like to be honest, out of the awards movies that came out, Armageddon Time I probably liked the most, with
Well,
the
that's a
exception
good
of
thing that it's
Babylon.
not a
But
not an awards movie.
but I think that movie I think that movie really like deftly navigates a lot of really complicated kind of social issues. I think it has a great ending. I think that all the characters are really well realized and feel like real people, and a lot of that is from the performances, but a lot of that is also the writing as well. And then you guys will both agree with my last one, but I think Nope is just masterfully written.
He
And
hates Nope.
oh, you don't like Nope?
No,
Okay, Paul
I'm
agrees with me then.
sorry. We can't act like it's a good. I mean, you can valid. I'm not going to invalidate you or anyone who likes this
Um,
movie. It's not a good screenplay though. Like,
Dad was just
eventually, we
yelling at
have
me
to be
about Nope, but I
honest.
haven't seen it in 6 months, so I was like, I don't remember what happens in that movie. Like, I can't defend it like that.
Well,
My
you
big
were like,
issue
"Oh no, it all adds up. Like the shoe makes sense. It's all about the spectacle." And everyone always says it's about the spectacle. What is it saying about the spectacle? Nothing. It's too long. It's
I don't
badly
understand the shoe
written.
either. But here's the thing. Um, that was one of the few, like that and Top Gun Maverick were like the two movies this year that I was like, sure did see a movie. Like, you know, like that feeling, like old school 90s, like I saw a movie. Which I didn't really get outside of that this year.
One of those was the exciting movie. One of them was the boring one you turn off a quarter of the way in.
yeah.
That's
I think
But
Nope,
valid,
like
Michael.
I liked
no,
Nope, so you don't have to worry.
no. Well, I was just saying that I think like a lot of people find themselves falling into the trap of trying to beat Jordan Peele. Like I think like a lot of people, especially people who have like a very heavy like writing background, get kind of like aggravated at how intricate his scripts are, and they try to like unpack how it's actually a mess and how it actually doesn't make sense when the like meanings of what Nope is trying to convey are very clear, I think. And it's not like it's kind of the opposite way too, where people act like, oh, it's such a dense and like complex and like thoughtful thing, and it is thoughtful, but it's also when people say like it's about the nature of spectacle, it really is just about like how people try to like lionize themselves by capitalizing off of things that are beyond this world. Like that's really the message. it's just very well conveyed, and then people try to turn it into this whole thing where like it has to be this complicated conspiracy theory about how every word and every line like ties into each other, and what does the fucking shoe mean, and this and that. And I just think it's a very like well written, built movie, and I sort of just don't try to boil it down to that many parts if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I went with scripts that not necessarily I thought that like the overall movie is like amazing, but I thought of the ones that I could find very little faults with the scripts in terms of what they were trying to do. So my number one was the outfit. I think that one is supposed to be a twisty, like, mystery, and it works perfectly. Has memorable characters who show up when they need to and leave when they need to. Do Revenge, I think, is very funny as like, a like YA kind of Mean Girls-esque movie. Shocked that it did not pick up with the Gen Z group.
It did.
I actually, it did, but not as much as
Not
I
as
would have
not like
expected.
Euphoria. I thought it would get to
Yeah.
Euphoria levels when I first watched it.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's more that it's just like a Netflix thing where every Netflix thing that's big for 5 minutes ends up becoming a flash in the pan. But people did talk about it.
Sure.
I'm in the TikTok world, my guy. People were obsessed with Do Revenge. Maybe not for forever, but like there was a solid week or so where every like TikToker or anyone in that kind of space was like, "You have to see this. This is the next Mean Girls, the next classic."
I know.
It was
I guess
really
it's
like,
weird because like my stepsister still hasn't watched it. I'm like, how the fuck have you not watched this yet? You're 20. Like, it's your movie. It was made for you, not me. And then my next one is Emily the Criminal. I think that one is a really strong script. Even when I like, I sit there sometimes when I watch movies, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have done that if I was the writer. But I get annoyed with those. In this one, I'm like, I wouldn't have done that, but like it makes sense. Like this is a clever way of doing this film. I think it's a really strong, like for what it is kind of movie. And then my last one was I Love My Dad, which I think is like a really strong, hard to do script. And the fact that it's not being talked about at all, I think is just because of the kind of indie feel to it. But it's fantastic. I love that script. So yeah, those were my four. What is our listeners?
Sure.
What do they got for us?
Michael, you're not alone. Jordan Dennis did pick Nope as his response. So, you're not alone. Valid to Jordan also. Bernard Ozorowski, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, said Women Talking. Sure. Definitely there.
Haven't seen it yet.
No one has. Well, I've seen it, but it has not really released yet, so I don't blame you. Someone who
I
goes
have a
by
screener that's just sitting there.
Oh, they sent me two. I was like, cool. Love it.
They
really
want you to have it in 360.
right.
Women talking around
Screen
you.
X. Eventually I can create a Screen X. So
Yeah.
one more. Fifth Best Will, who is apparently the fifth best Will, put The Quiet Girl, a great international feature this year. I really enjoyed. I don't know if either of you got to see it.
Is that the Irish one that everyone keeps talking about?
I don't think you would like it.
I probably would like it. It's one of those movies that like, how, this is the After Sun effect where there's movies that you like didn't hear about. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, as we've been talking about, and you're like, we've been talking about this? This is the first time I've ever heard of this. So I immediately like get repulsed by it. Both of those movies, I'm just like, this movie, I don't even know what either plot is about. It's just everyone's like, yeah, as we know, it's the best movie of the year that's so underrated. It's like, please, Lord.
Well, with After Sun,
I genuinely go ahead. Oh,
I was gonna say with After Sun and Women Talking. I'm gonna go actually. I'm like with After Sun and Women Talking, to peel back the curtain a bit. Alina saw both of them early and told us they were like not good. So immediately I trust Alina more than most people, to be honest. So immediately I was like, well, I'm gonna hate these films. Surely they're terrible. Because Alina told me so. And she was wrong about Women Talking. She was not wrong about After Sun, but that's okay.
Because Alina told me so.
I cannot wait for your review of After Sun, Paul. That's all I'm going to say. One way or another, it's going to be fireworks. I don't know what you'll think. I think you'll like it. I think you will like it.
Yeah.
It is up your alley of like the kind of like if
I don't
After Sun would,
know.
I think he'll watch it
If
in
they
a
were
double feature
rich,
with
I would say yes.
Right. I think he'll watch it in a double feature with Sundown.
That's the issue, though.
Ooh.
He likes rich white people on the beach. They're not rich.
They have a hotel.
I
They
like
have a
all sorts of white people on the beach.
Well, I think
no,
it depends. Do you think the lead
I
actor's
enjoy
hot?
diversity.
I think that's the biggest thing. Do you think the main actor's hot? Which I do.
No.
He's back on the market.
Josh Rowley and Dominic Ragazzi both put The Banshees of Inisherin, which completely agreed. Fantastic screenplay.
That is another one, but I was trying to avoid movies that I was like, sure, getting Oscar noms.
Overrated. Completely overrated movie.
Says a fucking Nope fan, like, you know.
I mean, it's just like when you were saying like how you thought Nope was not really about anything. I don't think Banshees of Inisherin is about anything. It's
Can you pronounce it correctly?
Whatever. It's about two
Says
guys.
me, Michael. I say everything
right.
wrong.
No. I wasn't. I was
my
just being.
thing.
It's not you. It's that I've tried to pronounce it 5 different ways in all the different TikToks I've done, and every time people are like, it's actually. So now I just don't fucking care, and I just say whatever I want.
That's me with Teton.
But no, so like,
God,
it's just a movie about 2 jerks having like a hissy fit. That's all it is. Like, there's just like everyone's like, oh, it's about the depth of these older relationships, and then they.
This sounds like me when I'm talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No, it is though.
Well, hold on. Let's just say Isaiah Henry said Everything Everywhere All at Once. Throwing that out.
What did he choose for the other movie?
Isaiah.
What did he choose for performance?
Brendan Fraser.
Oh.
For being nice to people.
Isaiah
I like how this
again.
episode, the thesis of this episode was going to be like a nice celebration, really chill. Let's just celebrate the films. And it's turned into our most hostile fight ever.
You know, it's fine. I still find him valid so far.
I wonder why we never get a big following. We're like, how is it like why don't we have,
you know
more
what? This
listeners?
is the first time we've interacted with people outside of Bandana Guy who.
Well, I see why people stay away. Sure. I mean, I will say all those films had screenplays at the very least, so good on you. I think Everything Ever All at Once.
No documentaries in
Here's
there.
Here's my take on Everything Ever All at Once. I think the ending is incredible. I think we just spend like 20 minutes too long in this office building. Like, specifically when Jamie Lee Curtis starts fighting, I'm like, this is great, but I need to get out of this building because I'm getting like cabin fever. I think once it gets past that, incredible. 5 stars. I just think that beginning is like way too slow, Peace and Love, and I love the Daniels. Also, Swiss Army Man is better. No one was there for Swiss Army Man. Whatever.
That's so fucking true, though. That's so true.
Michael, I knew I respected your take.
Because it's really like what annoys me more about Everything Everywhere All at Once is not the movie itself, which I think is very, very good. It's just that all of a sudden, all these people who like find people who love movies really pretentious are all of a sudden they've latched onto this specific movie because it like it's become like Hamilton-fied almost. Where you can't like even slightly like speak out against it, even though there are like definitely some issues with it. Because it's just like so beloved by people who had such a like violent emotional reaction to it. And it's a great movie and it should be beloved, but it also like isn't beyond just someone being like, I didn't like it that much, or I didn't think these parts are great. Like to me it's just very much more about like the fans of it than
that's why I hate most films, is because of the fans. My issue about it is that everyone latched onto it, all these pretentious white film critics, and now they're all like, oh my god, it's gonna win every single Oscar. Like, it's gonna probably, some people probably are out there like, it's gonna win the short film categories. Like, they're out there trying to say it's gonna win every fucking thing, and it's just like all logic goes out the window, and the 2 options are Peace and Love for some of these people. You're lying or you're an idiot, and I don't like either. I don't like you either way, so sorry.
So best direction.
Stay tuned for our award talk in 2 weeks. It's gonna be fun. Best directed film. Paul, go for it.
So this is really upsetting for me. One of my best directed films is The Northman. And if you know
Okay.
me,
Sure.
I fucking hated The Lighthouse with a passion that was 1,000 suns. So I went into that movie so ready to be mad, and then I got out and was like, oh no, that was pretty great. I have Nope on there. I think I'm in between you two. I had a really good time, but I do think there's problems with the script. So I was like, yes, I think Nope. And then, not to double up, I tried not to, but really, I'm gonna say the outfit. I think the outfit really had strong direction in terms of like pulling some performances out of people that are really surprising. There's a lot of accent work that is very difficult to not seem very corny. And I think he does a really great job. And it's a very in and out movie. I've watched it like 4 times, and each time I watch it, I'm like, this is so well executed. I just think it's so good. And I don't understand why that one's not in conversations at all.
For me, the three that I'd want to say would be first and foremost Babylon. Um, Damien Chazelle is just an absolute king. Like, to me, he is when it comes to just sheer pacing and just orchestration of like how the movie comes together and how it just seamlessly guides you from scene to scene. That movie was just impeccable, and to keep that pace over 3 hours is wild to me. Like that is one of the quickest, nimblest 3 hour movies I've ever seen in my life. Um, Paul said The Northman, so I won't say that, but that was also on my list.
Oh,
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to The Well and once again say Ambulance as a for another movie for direction, because I genuinely don't understand how the fuck Michael Bay made that movie during COVID. I think there should be a documentary about what I've been saying is that I think there should be like a Hearts of Darkness style documentary about them trying to make Ambulance during COVID, because those car chase sequences are insane, and for the most part they're all real, and also
there weren't any car chase scenes in
yeah,
Ambulance.
for you.
What happened is like there was a heist, and then the end of the movie. There's nothing else that happens.
And then of course all the like drone right. And then of course all the like drone photography is kind of groundbreaking for that field, and it really like gives it this, it makes it feel really
And am
immersive.
I making this up, or was that a child that did that?
No, it was like an 18-year-old like drone
Yeah.
racing champion. And
So
Michael Bay just randomly recruited him, and they revolutionized drone photography together. I really hope they work together again.
He went
I
to a
love
local
that.
high school and was just like, who knows how to who has a drone? Let's go.
To be
He like
honest,
looked up those YouTube videos and was like, I'll just email. Actually, you know what? A lot of people end up doing that when you hear about like people getting picked for movies and stuff. When I worked with Sia, she chose one of her performers from a YouTube video that the girl did. It's very funny.
We don't need to talk
Like,
about
it
Sia
just-
and casting and how she casts. You know, I don't think that's. We don't need to actually. You know, why do we keep talking about certain subjects that we probably shouldn't talk about every episode now?
every week. Sia updates.
Paul's
And
like,
then
I stand by the casting of music. That YouTube video was really good from the actor.
And then I do have one more that I want to mention, which is SS Rajamouli for RRR. I do think it's a great example of how to do that genre well, though, because it has such a grandeur to it and such a playfulness to it, especially just in its action sequences. It feels more like a comic book movie than any comic book movie produced in the last fucking 10 years. And it just like it's very fascinating how he just deals with all these issues, real world things that happened, and still turned it into this just massively entertaining blockbuster with these just incredible action sequences. And while it seems like I may never hear the original dub of the film, he did get very good dubbed performances out of those two leads, who, as I understand it, are very big in India.
Well, and that's what we talked about on the podcast, I think, when the episode came out about it, is that the original movie was also dubbed. In Indian films, for the most part, they don't try to grab correct sound, so they just dub everything. So even though it's not the same language, it's also like not the real audio regardless. So that's kind of like, once you know that, you're like, oh, okay, I see why they chose the more common language to use. It just seems the easier.
Yeah.
But I do wish they had both options.
You should see
Yeah, it's very
RRR,
stupid that
Paul.
they
You
did
would like it.
I've watched like 3/4. Okay, not even 3/4. They get to the prison.
Oh.
The little girls in the prison or the sister or something.
Do you
And
like
I
it
was
or
like,
no?
I was enjoying it. I was just like, oh, I'll definitely watch this as an event sometime. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying this, and then just it's 3 hours. It's really hard for me to do that.
There is a literal intermission in the movie.
I know, I've heard. I need to just do it.
Yeah.
I wish I was able to watch it in theaters because I missed it in theaters, so I watched it when it was on Netflix or whatever. And like, well, I did.
I'm laughing. No, I'm laughing because I had tickets to go see it in theaters, and Michael was like, "It's a TV movie," and I was like, "It's a TV movie."
What?
And then I realized we later figured out he was saying it's TV because my TV is so big. Which, if you don't remember on the podcast, my TV is 86 inches.
We didn't like the Sea Beast, and you were like, "It's because your TVs are cheap." Sorry, like mine's just great.
Oh yeah, I love the Sea Beast.
It was
you said it was ugly,
which it is.
It was a very confusing text because I did say it's a big TV movie, and I think like it sounded like I was saying it's a big TV movie, like
it's a big TV movie,
right. And what I just meant is because I had actually just been over to his place for the first time, and I saw that TV, so I was still like awash in the glow of how fucking huge that thing is, and he was saying like, oh, I'm gonna go drive to the theater to go see it. I'm like, it's like, sure, like it's fun in the theater, but like you don't need to. It's perfectly good on your big TV.
Yeah.
Like it would like that's what I meant. And then like when I was putting it on my list, Paul he texted me. He's like, "Why the fuck do you have RRR here? You literally told me you hated it." I was like, "When?"
I was like, you literally said it was a TV movie.
You said it was a Disney Channel original film. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's a decom.
I will say, I think RRR I do enjoy. I think it's overall really good. But I think both that and Nope, whether or not you actually like the overall films, I think the directing in both is pretty undeniable. So like,
and what I will say, Paul, the second half of RRR is better than the first.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard
by a lot.
I didn't dislike it. Like I had a good time. It's just
no. But what I'm saying is, if you already like it,
actually, you know what's embarrassing about this? Is I think I like made a list of all the movies I should watch before the end of the year, and I ended up watching things like Spirited and Bros. Really need to catch up on all the important movies: Spirited, Bros, and some like animated movies. I tried Strange World. I watched exactly 10 minutes of Strange World, and I was like, absolutely not, never in a million years.
Well, to be fair, you fully had COVID, so like your brain wasn't at like peak capacity.
The fun thing about Strange World, though, is the opening song that they sing was one of the guys I was friends with in high school.
That's cute.
He was singing it, and I was like, hey.
The guy from Ambulance is in that, right? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Oh yeah, he is.
Jakey.
For mine,
he had a great year.
Well, I stand with Taylor Swift, so actually I think he's terrible in both. That's a joke. Biggest positive surprise, or no, not biggest positive surprise. Sorry, favorite directed film for me. Yeah, Damien Chazelle, Babylon. Not to just repeat exactly what Michael said, but just like masterful. They sent me a link for it, and I watched it 3 times now. I think 3 or 4 times. And it's just a film like 3 hours. It's a long film, but like there are nights where I'm just like, yeah, I could just go for that right now, and it's great. I will also say that I think what Guadagnino does with Bones and All is beautiful directing, such tenderness. Another film Paul hates. Every film I mentioned, Paul hates. I think the directing there is fucking phenomenal. And then I will say, let's piss off some people. I think what Florian Zeller does in The Son is unbelievably talented. I love The Son. Hot take. I think it's better than The Father, and I gave The Father 5 stars. That is a film, very clear. Number one, I'll say child of divorce. So like maybe it got me in some personal ways that maybe it didn't get everyone. But I think the directing there is like unbelievable, alongside the acting and screenplay and everything else. So I'll say that. Paul, you like The Son. We have to be in this together. Like, it's not going to work.
I didn't dislike it, but it has not. Like when I think about movies that existed this year, I do forget that The Son exists. Although it is in my list later.
When Hugh Jackman like looks in the water and his face like turns to Anthony Hopkins, brilliant, beautiful stuff. Let's talk about biggest surprise, biggest positive surprise. I will start out with
Wait,
Barbarian.
what did people say any direction?
Oh, sorry, I totally forgot. Only one did actually, because I actually didn't ask for this. But Benjamin West still said Zach Kreger for Barbarian, which I agree.
Oh,
Very well directed
you
film.
know what? Sure.
Yeah,
Um,
Michael is not a fan of
I
Barbarian.
don't like it.
oh, very valid.
I have it later actually in
Okay.
one of our other categories.
Well, I'm going to talk about it right now for biggest positive surprise because I went to the world premiere of Barbarian, so no one knew anything about the film other than like Bill Skarsgård was in it, and that's it. And I do not love
So it's
awesome
your
horror
fault.
movies. Yeah, it is. I do not love horror movies because I get very scared. But this film was genuinely the best theatrical experience of my life. It was during Comic-Con. And just like the crowd was perfect. It was like the right energy where it was sold out. People are like yelling at the screen in like a good way that worked. It wasn't like distracting Marvel movie. Just caught me off guard and is absolutely one of my favorites, specifically because I think that theatrical experience was incredible. I rewatched it with a friend in an empty theater like 3 weeks after it released normally, and it was definitely like less impressive, but I really enjoyed that. Michael, what's your surprise? Go for
Well,
it.
wait, I want to hop in real quick. Um, only because just about Barbarian, I had the exact same experience as you. I think like 3 weeks later. But the funniest part is, so I was with one of my friends, Matt Donato, and he got a text about someone who hated the movie, said it was the worst movie of the year, at the exact same point that Carson texted my group that he loved it. And both Matt and I were like, I have no clue how people are going to feel about this damn movie. Because it was like literally at the exact same second. Carson's like, this movie's so good. And the other person was like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. So
But yes, I did the same thing, and I saw it in a big theater and I enjoyed it. But
I have two positive surprises I'd want to point out. The first is Senior, which is a documentary about Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Downey Sr. I did not expect that I would be bothered at all by that movie. And it actually turns out that it's a really I didn't know anything about Robert Downey Sr. And it turns out he has a really interesting history and his work is really cool. And just like the whole dynamic of how, because the movie is sort of about them making the documentary that you're watching, and also Robert Downey Sr. making his own documentary about himself. I thought that the whole contrast of that was really fascinating, and with all the like dialogue right now going on about like nepo babies, I thought it was really interesting to take a look at maybe a more foundational nepo baby relationship that kind of feels like it's at the root of a lot of those issues, and sort of see like a more, I guess, pure version of that dynamic, if that makes sense. Um, and then the other one that I would want to talk about is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which I did not understand why we were doing that. Like, I would get doing another Shrek, but doing another Puss in Boots, like, where the hell is there left to go with that? And I did not anticipate the Shrek's franchise's pivot into shonen anime, but I am very on board for it because that movie was just visually absolutely insane, and just like, it was more of an action movie than like a comedy. It had more of the vibe of like Road to El Dorado than DreamWorks has had in a very long time, and I really appreciated that. It made me excited because the director of Puss in Boots: Last Wish is doing Kung Fu Panda 4, and I really like those movies, so I'm eager to see how that new animation style is going to work with Kung Fu Panda. I think it's going to be great. DreamWorks is back.
That's so exciting. I like love Puss in Boots. I found it so funny at the end when it ends on this like Marvel cliffhanger for the new
I
Shrek
know.
film. Adored. Love it.
And I want to see
All the
Shrek in this new like context.
yes.
Like Shrek with these big like fucking massive fight scenes. I'm just imagining like him and Donkey doing like team up moves and like freaking like taking down a giant and shit. It really like recontextualizes and revitalizes the whole like concept of the Shrek franchise. It like really kind of turns it
I
into
need to
the
see it.
2020s. You would really like it, I think.
You should see it. If we can keep holding out for a hero though as the song that plays during that, golden. Shrek, 5
Yes.
stars. I'll say
So
Jordan
my
Dennis. I'll just quickly say Jordan Dennis agrees with you that Puss in Boots was his biggest surprise. Go ahead, Paul.
I thought it was just surprises, so I picked 4, and I'm going with them.
Go ahead.
But you know what? My biggest one, obviously, is Top Gun Maverick. I had zero interest even after everyone told me it was going to be great, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh, this was a lot of fun. Also, side note, get very annoyed when people are like, it's a propaganda movie. It's like, yeah, sure, but like, you're not cool to say that. Like, it doesn't make you interesting to say that again and again and again. Most people I know. With that, also, I really loved Confess Fletch.
Fully looking at me while he said that.
No,
We had
actually,
eye
it was at a
contact. It was
party.
weird.
It was at a party where, like, I had already gotten in trouble for saying that I didn't like Everything Everywhere All at Once and X, and everyone's sitting around like, oh, this person. And they were like, what movies did you like? And I said Top Gun Maverick, and they all were like, the propaganda movie, and I was like, you know what? Leave me alone. Anyway, Confess Fletch. I had to be fucking dragged to that movie. I was begging my friend not to make me go, Chris. And then we both got there, and I was like, no, that was great. I love that. That was so fun. I thought I thought it was going to be related to the other Fletch movies, which I'd never seen, but apparently that's like completely different, not even related. Also has one of my favorite jokes of all time. So, another one, Carson, this one's for you. Death on the Nile. I do not like the first one, Murder on the Orient Express. I haven't rewatched it recently. And I was like, this is still not good. Death on the Nile hits me right. And then my last one is Chippendale Rescue Rangers, another movie I was like, I don't want to watch this. And then I was like, watching. I'm sorry. Even if you don't particularly like the movie, the amount of nostalgia that movie fits in, like you can look in the background and like Doug Funny's a lawyer. It's so good. Love it.
That movie really proved the existence of micro generations to me, because you're just a few years older than me. I was sitting there watching Chip and Dale going, I don't know what the fuck any of these things are. They kept being like, remember this, remember this. I didn't remember shit. I didn't remember anything. There was nothing connecting me to that movie whatsoever. And all it is just a bunch of remember this, remember this, remember this jokes.
The funniest part is that it's the same guys who did that movie that you made me rent.
It is, yeah. The Lonely Island, yeah.
Popstar Never Stopping, which I was like, oh, maybe I'll like this. And I was like, no, still don't like this. But you know what? People grow, people change, people get better. Also, it had a Jimmy Neutron reference, which, like, thank God. We always need more Jimmy Neutron references.
I genuinely thought about putting this, but as soon as I saw the trailer and I saw that Cats 2019 was in it, I knew I was going to love it. So it was not really a surprise. Boy, going to what other people thought, Josh Rowley really loved The Swearing Jar. I'm going to be honest, I've never heard of that film, but I'm really happy that Josh liked it. Nuanced Film Takes said Stars at Noon, the Claire Denis film, another movie I did not watch, but she's had 2. What?
I'm obsessed with these people choosing movies like we're like choose surprises, and they're like, we'll choose movies that don't exist.
Honestly, they could just be lying at this point. Bernard
this looks cute, and it has Patrick J. Adams in it. You know what? I'll
The Swearing Jar
for my mom. Yeah, it's about Carrie and Simon, an otherwise perfect couple, try to kick their swearing habit before their baby arrives.
Next week, guys, prepare for ClapperCast official review of The Swearing. I'm kidding.
It's a surprisingly long movie for a drama.
How long is it?
2 hours. Like a comedy drama. It's also a musical.
Every time they swear, they add 10 minutes to the movie.
I love that.
Bernard, like a choose your own adventure.
Yes. Bernard said Clerks 3. I believe he said he hated Clerks 2, but Clerks 3 really got him. I've not seen any of the Clerks, but I'm happy for you. Chris Gonzo said Metal Lords. Didn't see it. The Netflix one about a girl becoming goth, I think. Don't know. But great for you.
Oh, I remember that one.
Someone by the name of In My Honest Opinion Reviews said Smile, a horror movie that got a lot of people, I'll say. I watched it recently. I don't know if I'm very, into it like how many people are, but I thought it was pretty good.
I put that on my surprises list too.
Nice. Fifth best Will said The Bad Guys, which I agree. I really enjoyed The Bad Guys. And then Isaiah Henry said Bones and All, which great for you. I was excited for it, so it wasn't a surprise, but I'm happy someone else likes it. Now let's finish off our positive section, because if you've not noticed, this has shockingly been the positive part of the podcast, with our favorite films of the year. I'm going to go through the list very quickly because I've pretty much talked about everything on this list. Babylon Bros, The Sun, Bones and All, Ticket to Paradise, from the guy who made Mamma Mia 2. Of course, I was going to give it 5 stars, and I think it's just such a bundle of joy and fun. And then also I have Death on the Nile. So, Paul, we're thinking alike there. Michael, what are your favorite films of the year?
I've pretty much talked about my top 5 all pretty much, but it's from 1 to 5, Babylon, On the Count of 3, Nope, Everything Everywhere, and Pearl.
Well, with Paul stepping away, let's go to the fans.
Guess Paul's
This
quit.
is really this is the best time for Paul to be gone, because now he won't shit on our fans. Jordan Dennis put Everything Everywhere All at Once. Josh Rowley said he couldn't decide between Decision to Leave and Elvis. I'll say Decision to Leave. Very good film. Nuance Film Tank said Crimes of the Future. Bernard said After Sun. In My Honest Opinion review said The Fablemans. Chris Gonzo said The Whale. Umesh Singh said The Quiet Girl. Dominic Regazzi also said The Fablemans. Isaiah Henry said The Whale. And Benjamin West said Decision to Leave. I think most of those are great choices. Paul, what are your favorite films of the year now that you are back?
Surprisingly small amount of people saying Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Agreed.
I was expecting this just to be okay. So my top 5: A Taste of Hunger. Fucking love that movie. The Banshees of Inisherin, The Outfit, Pleasure, and my number 1 is still Tar. Although in my heart, it's beaten back and forth with Pleasure. Um, but like, I think ultimately Pleasure may win out on that.
Pleasure beats a little harder.
Yeah, I like Pleasure more.
They also are like the same overall kind of like about ambition getting pushed too hard and stuff, which I think is really interesting. I do have a theme on movies I like. But even Taste of Hunger is about that. But yeah, no, I think this was a good year for movies that are not like not one of those movies, except for Banshees. Is Banshees and Tar are really like in conversations, and it's funny because those are the ones that are like the coldest to me. Like, I love them, but I don't have like a passion in my heart about them, like I do for like I just watch them and I'm like, this is fantastic. Sometimes you just do that with movies. You're like, I don't feel anything, but I really love it. Although Tar does, some of the moments in Tar are fantastic.
Agreed. Well, let's go to the negative part of the podcast and mention our biggest disappointments of the year. I'm going to quickly say Thor: Love and Thunder. I really enjoy, like, not to be an MCU stan here. I don't like most of these films, let's just be honest. But I really enjoy Thor Ragnarok. I think what Taika Waititi did there was very good. It was very funny, very entertaining, just like a breath of fresh air. And then Thor: Love and Thunder came out and was like, just sucked the life out of me, to be honest. I think that film is like embarrassingly bad made. And then like it even gets worse, because then like he goes online and like makes fun of it being bad, and it's like, well, you made the film, why are you shitting on visual direct art people? I don't know, but like that film, just like I was really like, oh, it's gonna be an MCU project I like, and it wasn't. So that's sad for me. Michael, what film disappointed you this year, or what films, if you have multiple?
For sure. Thor is also on my list for basically the same reasons. I think that's one of the most pitiful movies ever made by a major studio. Like, it's actually inexcusable how bad that movie is, and I think that it was negligently made to the point to where I think that Taika shouldn't have been paid to make it. Aside from that, another one for me, I'll do a few of them. For me, Don't Worry Darling was a big one. I know a lot of people gave up on that one quicker than I did, but I was expecting that once we finally pierced through the drama and got to the movie itself, that it would deliver, and it was just okay. Hated Barbarian. I still think that it's a well assembled script, but it's also really kind of like don't like what it has to say about its central monster. I think it's monster that it's really kind of stigmatizing and gross and just very kind of I think it gave me such a shitty, horrible feeling and just made me feel like the director just has a really ugly view of victims. And then to have all these like horror bros coming out of it, oh, it's the most fucking awesome movie ever, man. It's gory as shit. It's shocking. You're not gonna know what's around the next fucking corner, bro. I got so fucking turned off. And then another one, and this one will get me in trouble. I didn't like Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio very much.
Oh no, that's
I
fair.
thought it was annoying, to be honest. It's just the central Pinocchio character really just made me want to put my foot through a wall. And I thought that it was very visually stunning, but I just never once cared about the characters. And I felt like it was more kind of breezing through a lot of big themes than really exploring them. And it was very constrained to the material that they were working with. Like, I wish that he had just made a animated movie about fascism and didn't try to make it into a Pinocchio movie. It was a weird mix for me, and I love Del Toro.
Yeah, that one for me, I keep calling it a wet cake movie, which is like you watch it and it exists and then it just falls apart almost instantly and you're like, what happened in that? Like, I just can't remember anything from that movie. Like, you were watching it and texting me and I'm like, yeah, I guess that did happen in that movie. The Pinocchio story.
I love the film. All I will say is I think it's a bold choice if you had to replace any part of Pinocchio and insert Hitler Youth Camp. To replace the best part of the original Pinocchio is a choice, is all I will say.
So weird. So my biggest disappointments were like how I thought of it was movies that I remember sitting exact opposite of what I did for biggest surprises. These were movies that I went into the theater and I was like, fuck yeah, let's do this, let's go. And then got out and I was like, oh, okay. Number one, Jurassic World Dominion. And I am like not a hater of Jurassic World Dominion, but it's not fucking the last Jurassic World movie. It's just like it's fine. But it could have been so great. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, it's in my top 10. Uncharted was another one. And that was one I knew I probably wouldn't like, but I just had hope because I love Uncharted as the video games. Um, Gonna upset some people here. The Menu I was so excited for, and I felt so goddamn cold while I was sitting there. Just nothing to it for me. See How They Run, another movie that I was like, yes, let's do this. Especially because, okay, and I blame this a little bit on film Twitter and like my friends and everything, letterbox people. They were like, it's so surprising, you'll never guess. And both Chris and I were like, no, but like we knew who it was most of the movie, right? And then we like watched it and I was like, wait, this is not trickery. Um and another one of those. My last one of the creepy murder stories that didn't end up being as good as I thought they were going to be was Glass Onion, a Knives Out story, which we talked about last week, so we don't really need to get into it, but very disappointed. And I sit more and more disappointed the more I think about it. But I would like a Ryan Johnson whodunit hat if Ryan would like to send me one.
I can reach out and try to get him to send you out one.
I would wear it all the time.
Well,
these movies I find mid.
Ryan, if you send us enough of them, we'll send it to every guest, and then every episode we will all just be wearing them.
We're all sitting there.
And the best part is that we don't like the film. That's the best part of it all.
Is that I don't like it, and we're still like, no, I'm not great. We're all in that.
The other ones that everyone else picked that have not been mentioned so far, Nuanced Film Takes mentioned The Fablemans, which I agree with. Sorry, everyone. Bernard,
I wasn't
Blonde.
excited about that one.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Oh, that's a good one.
Blonde
that's a good
is
one.
Good, but also like it's disappointing if you were ignorant to what it was about. Like, as soon as you read anything about it, you were like, "Oh, this is not going to be good." But
right, but like I would put that in the Uncharted category where you're like, I think it's not going to be great, and then you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's the first time those two have ever been compared.
Yes.
I
Chris
definitely wasn't
Gonzo.
watching. I definitely wasn't watching Blonde, being like, I'm getting real Uncharted.
That's a great feature someone should write, comparing Uncharted and Blonde.
Let's do the
Chris
crossover.
Gonzo with
Nathan Drake finds Marilyn Monroe.
Chris Gonzo with a great pick here. Men. I agree completely.
Yes.
I was excited for Men. Outside of the birthing segment, not good.
Men
That
sucks.
was great.
See, I did not like the birthing segment. Like, Chris and I almost left.
You should have.
That was so real. And it's really funny because I looked through my reviews and I was like, I gave that a 2-star. Like, it is funny, like, when you get out of a movie and you're like, I guess I liked it gave me a lot of feelings, 2-star. And then you get out and you're like, that was a 1/2-star film. What am I?
Look, I'm not going to shit on people's opinions. I'm not one to say anyone's wrong. But I've seen conversation and been in the spaces where conversations have been had where people are like, what do you think the awards breakdown for the actors are in Men? Because I think they're all deserving. And I just kind of sit there and I'm like, we live on different worlds. Fifth best Will said the
Poor Jesse
Batman.
Buckley.
I would love more explanation.
You know what?
I don't think it was. I didn't love it like everyone else, but like I thought it was good.
You know what? That sits directly in the center for me. I think it's a surprise and also a big disappointment because here's the thing: I don't like Matt Reeves. I don't trust him with properties. We still are dealing with what he did with the Planet of the Apes trilogy, and people are like, those movies are good, and it's like, yeah, but it's like doesn't care about source material whatsoever. That movie is a very specific series, is a very specific thing, and he was like, no, it's not anymore. And I feel like he did that again with Batman, but less so than I was expecting. I really was expecting to hate it, but I also wanted to love it more. So it's very much, I gave it like 3 stars, but that's where, I was trying to think like, what is my most mid movie of the year? And I'm like, I think it's actually the Batman.
I
the
dug
highs
it when
were
it
high
wasn't,
and the lows were low.
I dug it when it wasn't setting up HBO Max original series. That's my choice. Omesh Singh really agrees with you. He said Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio also, but he also said The Fabelmans. Dominic Ragazzi said The Northman. Okay, I agree actually there also. I think that's not that good of a film, but valid, everyone. Isaiah Henry said Elvis. You're wrong. That's okay. And then
Correct,
Benjamin West said 3,000 Years of Longing,
Wait,
which
who said
I completely understand. Benjamin West?
Said Elvis?
Oh, no, sorry. Isaiah Henry said Elvis.
He came back. All right. Came back around. We love that guy.
Actually banned from we actually blocked him from the Twitter account after he sent that one in. Sorry. I won't be listening to this because I did ban him. Just kidding. Benjamin West said 3,000 Years of Longing, which, like, sure, I accept that.
Oh, you know what? That if you were a big fan of Mad Max, I could see that being like very upsetting. So I totally get that. I didn't even see it, and I literally forgot that was a movie that exists.
I enjoyed it, but I thought it petered out at the end. I thought
the ending is so strange.
Yeah, I liked 2/3 of it, and then it just kind of like forgets to have an ending, and then it's just suddenly like, and it's done. All right, and it's so
it feels like he had to leave production.
Yeah,
and someone who hadn't seen the rest of the film came in. Like, as soon as the neighbors showed up, I was like, I don't know what we're doing.
Exactly.
We lost the plot, quite literally.
The second they leave the hotel room, it's over. It should have just been the hotel room.
For sure. Overall worst films of the year. I'll start because I have 3. I have White Noise. Another one you could put on disappointment. I like Bomb Back, but I think that, we discussed it last week. I think it's trash. Jurassic World Dominion. I am a weird, like, defender of the Jurassic World series, but it's really hard for me to defend Dominion at all. It is, like, absolutely one of the most boring. Granted, okay, I'll be honest, I got into a fight with a security guard for the press screening because he, like, tried to not let me in. I was like, I'm pressed, thank you. I have reserved seats. Like, sorry, let me in.
I mean,
so
you
I
do look like a small child, so which you can now see on video,
literal child.
on YouTube.
He was a little child, and I literally went into had a full Karen moment, I'm not gonna lie, of me going to get the PR person, openly, loudly saying, "Okay, fucker, I'm getting the PR person." So it was like, no, it's not good. But I did walk in in a bad mood, I will say. But I think that movie's trash, and like it's odd. I think it's like laughably bad. The other one I'll say, it's boring. I'm sorry, Dwayne. I like you overall, but Black Adam was not it. All I'm gonna say. One of the most like boring maybe films I've ever seen, let's say. Was not a fan. Hope for Noah Centineo to really stand out. He did not. So sadly, I think it's probably back to Netflix for him. What did you guys think were the worst films of the year?
For me, I have Blonde as the worst. To me, that was just a total affront, transgression, whatever you want to call it. It was just completely uncalled for. Andrew Dominic, prison, horrible sleazebag fucking guy. And it really kind of stained Ana de Armas as well. And I'm a big fan of hers, but she's gonna have to do a little bit of work after that one. And then number two, I have The Bubble. In case anybody wanted to see a hilarious comedy about the production of Jurassic World Dominion, I just thought
I
that
like
that
The
was
Bubble.
a horrifically tone deaf, completely unfunny movie that just like to me, it's just about it's just like a movie made by people who don't live in the real world, who really think they do, and that's just the most goddamn irritating combination. And then third, I have Core.
You know what's funny about The Bubble? I was thinking about it a lot recently, and I realized how many jokes are almost the exact same jokes as Glass Onion. Down to there being a sequence where they have a famous celebrity as a personal trainer that's on a screen. I was like, this is so weird. And it's all about like being in the pandemic, but it's rich people who don't have to deal with it. It's very strange. The connections between those two are very similar to Uncharted and Blonde.
That was my strategy this year, though. I hid my opinion on the bubble because I did like The Bubble. I hid my opinion with my bad Morbius thoughts, so everyone just saw the Morbius and no one could see past it to see that I did like The Bubble.
I am between the two of you because I did not like The Bubble whatsoever, but I think the trailer for The Bubble is like fantastic, and like I've watched it like multiple times after not liking the movie. There's something about the music. Whoever that trailer editor was, I was like, yes. Side note, I think trailers make or break things a lot more than people realize, and that's my truth.
I wonder if that's why I have the worst opinions ever, because I don't watch trailers like at all. I like do not watch them.
That actually
that's why.
It honestly could be like not
because I also don't read
have
plot synopsises. I don't like I do not because I'm gonna see them anyway, so there's no point. So I really go into every film blind. Like,
see,
that's why.
Okay, so my 5. Coming in at number 5 is Bros. Number 4 is The Munsters. Number 3 is, you know what? It's Wendell and Wild. And I like fucking hated that movie. Like I like Carson had told me it wasn't great. And then so I was like ready for
I said it was good. I said you would hate it. I like the movie a lot. I said you would hate it.
Yeah, no, I fucking hated that movie. I cannot believe I got through it. Number 2 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Number 1, the worst film of the year, without question, is the newest Hellraiser. I, as the biggest fan of the Hellraiser series, I read the book in preparation. I went and saw the first 2 movies again in theaters with a friend of the podcast, Chris. I was so pumped. I loved The Night House, loved The Night House. But the thing about Hellraiser is that it's very transgressively sexy, and this movie is transgressively like cold and clinical, and also has weird morals. Like there's like bury your gay aspects, and like there's just all sorts of very strange things that movie chooses to do, and I hated it. I'm sorry.
I also want to add Power of the Dog to my list, even though it was last year, but just like I'm still
Valid.
suffering from it.
Valid. I always forget that movie exists until people bring it up, and then like my brain screams.
I wish I could. I
Ugh,
wish I could, Michael.
the worst.
Best part again, like Bros written for me. They shit on Power of the Dog in it. Like, yes, really, you get it. Let's see what everyone else said. Josh Rowley said Amsterdam. I agree. Bernard said Where the Crawdads Sing, which I agree. I think that was a bad film, except the end. Never forget two things. When Alina gave a 2-hour recap of the film to Paul, and Paul just walked away during it, and Alina kept speaking. And also the batshit insane ending of it, which is maybe my favorite ending of the year. I will give it. Chris Gonzo said Windfall. Sure. I liked it. But
I almost put Windfall, but I thought it was so
Oh.
unnecessary. I didn't even reference it, but it actually is in my top 5. Bros would not have made it.
I enjoyed Windfall.
No, we should have switched those out. Next time if
I also took out 365 Days This Day, because I was like, everyone knows that's bad. And also because if people asked, I would be like, but the next 365 days, kind of liked. We gave it like a 1 star. I was like, this is okay.
Now
The
I have to
last
watch
one
it.
just like, what?
Now I have to watch it. I quit after this day. I never got to the last one.
The last one is like, it just doesn't, it's not even a movie anymore. It's just like a giant music video, and you're like, I can kind of vibe with this. It doesn't try to have a plot. It's so much fun. They just go shopping and drink and like go to the same strip club like 20 times.
Okay, I'll watch it. Fun. You've convinced me. Fifth Best Will said Cha Cha Real Smooth. Valid. I liked it. No one else did it seems. Dominic Ragazzi said No Exit. It was on my watch list the entire year. Never got around to it.
That was not good. But also not worst of the year. Very
Dominic disagrees.
Like, no. Like it's impressive to like put it on there. Like it's like harmlessly boring. Like, but I also could see it being so boring that it makes the worst of the year. You know what? I'll allow it.
This is what Paul wants. This is what Paul wants someone to say about him putting Bros on his worst list. Oh, interesting.
No, he wants me to cry, Michael.
So that's brave.
And finally, Benjamin West also agreed Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I will agree is terrible, but I think it's really funny towards the end. So I think like it kind of works. Let's go to a most annoying performance or character of the year. Mine is going to be Sadie Sink in The Whale. I like Sadie. I want to make that very clear. I think she's the best thing in Stranger Things. In The Whale, she is god-awful. She tries to murder the man, and then they're like, but she really loves people. And it was like, no, and she just comes off as like terribly fake and forced, and I was not a fan. What were you guys? Who annoyed you?
I've got 4 that I want to bring up quickly. The first is The Rock and Black Adam. To make people wait for so long and to hold that character hostage for over a decade, only to give the most phoned in performance that feels like he skimmed a comic book in his trailer before walking on set. Just embarrassing. He's embarrassing right now. A minor one that is in the same vein is John Krasinski in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Let's put that fan cast to bed now, because even his deliveries of those 10 lines were just so incredibly wooden. The hole in the dimensions is going to cause that, like, he could give a fuck less. Like, let's please find someone who wants to play Reed Richards. A big one for me is Sam Rockwell and See How They Run. I'm a big fan of his. He was giving nothing in that performance. Like, you could definitely tell he was trying to kind of do like a riff on like Benoit Blanc, where like it's like kind of the chilled out kind of like lethargic detective, but it ended up being so lethargic that it was non-existent. Saoirse was absolutely carrying his corpse throughout that entire fucking movie. And finally, and most egregiously, Nicolas Cage in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was truly unbearable, in the sense that entire movie is supposed to be built around, this is why we absolutely love this person and all of their eccentricities. And by the end of that movie, I was like, Nicolas Cage, please shut the fuck up. forever, because that was just an abrasive and wildly unfunny movie, and most of it was just because uh, half of his dialogue was just screaming, and you could tell that they were like really reaching to get like some new Nicolas Cage memes, and it just was a really embarrassing display that really kind of destroyed my enthusiasm for his comeback. Although I'm sure when Renfield comes out and he's great as Dracula, I'll be back in. But like, I really just, I'm getting so sick of like meta comedy, which is very funny because I used to be so into meta comedy, but it's just got like post Deadpool, it's gotten so unbelievably lazy, and that's a big egregious example for me.
Mine, I'm in three categories. One is horror actors who just aren't great and really pull down the movie because they're supposed to have emotions and just don't. Sarah Yarkin, I already mentioned. Also, Odessa Azion, sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name, and Hellraiser, horrible performance. Billy Eichner and Cooper Rafe in Cha Cha Real Smooth and Bros, uh, which is that I wrote for myself and I've made myself so cool and everyone thinks I'm hot shit. It's just like it really grates on me. And I think I would have liked both movies more if they had not cast themselves. And like that's my like ultimate truth there. And you have to know, I love Billy Eichner and Difficult People. This is not against Billy Eichner; it's against Billy Eichner's writing himself. Like when Julie Klausner writes Billy Eichner, being Billy Eichner, she makes him a piece of shit, which like Billy Eichner kind of is. Like you just know, like you meet Billy Eichner and you're like, you know, see him on. You're like, I know he would not be someone I'd enjoy being around. I think he's really smart and really clever, but he just doesn't. He gets bad vibes. And then my last one. This is not the fault of the actress, but it is the funniest thing of the year and the most distracting thing that ever happened to me in 2022 was Fan Bingbing in the 355. And you're like, really weird. Why the fuck? Because she is banned from leaving China. So they shot an entire film with her in a different area from everyone else. And then whenever they had to do group shots, pasted her face onto a different actress. And this, like, it's so weird because I walked out of that movie and I was like, everyone's going to be talking about this. No one talked about it. Still, I looked up articles and like no one's talking about it. It's so obvious. Like you can look up, like that's something that happened. But like the way they do it, because they couldn't get the same cinematographers, the movie will be shot like every American movie. And then all of a sudden it'll cut to Fan Bingbing in like a like perfume commercial. Like the lighting is completely different and like it is the wildest thing. But also because like she's not acting with them, her performance is rough. Like she does not know how everyone's gonna respond to things. So like there's one scene where she's talking to Sebastian Stan and Sebastian Stan's being big and she's so muted and you're like, this is not aligning. Like I would have cut her completely. I feel so bad for her because I actually really liked her in X-Men. I want to say it's the time travel one.
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past. She's great in that. But it wasn't to be. Do you want to wrap with 3 favorite scenes?
Yeah, let's wrap with our favorite scenes. I will say I completely forgot that we were doing this. Peace and love. So I really created these off the fly and I have 5 of them. Wow.
Ooh.
Right.
Shit.
I will say the ending movie montage in Babylon. I've seen the worst takes ever. Wow. Cinema. Yeah, I loved it. The middle hour of Avatar, The Way of Water, where it's just like stops the plot.
Favorite scene.
No, it's really like one
No,
scene.
but he's right though.
The movie stops the plot and is just like, do you want to swim underwater with some aliens?
Yeah.
And it's like, great.
No,
that's what I'm here for in
that's-
Avatar.
That's so valid. No, Paul, you haven't seen it yet, but he's right.
No, it is one like
No,
it
he's
really
like,
is the
no,
middle
that's,
hour.
That's based actually.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness has such a good style because of the director. I forgot his name.
Sam
That's
Raimi.
fine. Sam Raimi, thank you. And it's very clear he knows this is never going to happen again. So as a fuck you to the MCU at the end, he gives Doctor Strange's horrible looking third eye. That is like completely god awful visual effects, but it is like perfect for the context of the film. And the only thing I care about in the MCU truly at this point is the next appearance of Doctor Strange, see what they do with this terrible Sam Raimi third eye. That's great. In Barbarian, when Justin Long is measuring the stairs, I think that is hysterical. Laughing out loud gets me every time. The last one is Death on the Nile, when they turn the corner and Gal Gadot is standing in a big Cleopatra outfit. Love it. That is foreshadowing, and I'm excited. So that's my opinions on the best scenes of the year. What do you guys think?
I just want to briefly piggyback and say one of my contenders was the Illuminati deaths in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That was an incredible gag. Because as much as I was just shitting on John Krasinski in the fan cast and everything, that was... my jaw was on the floor. That I couldn't believe they did that. And to see all the MCU fans get mad about a silly, scary gag just because like they don't understand like what an actual joke in a movie is supposed to be like is just like that was beautiful to me. As far as my three go, the first, I've kept my Batman, Robert Pattinson, thirsting to a minimum on this so far, but the Something in the Way montage in the Batman is absolutely iconic, and I think like really does a beautiful job just like establishing his performance and Matt Reeves' take on the character, even if 90% of the movie is just him lurking around rooms and doing a point and click adventure game. I like it, but the more I get distance from it, the more I do realize that so much of it is just because I love Robert Pattinson so much. But if Robert Pattinson wasn't the lead in it and it was someone else, I'd be like, this is a movie where Batman like looks at the wall and then looks
the Nicholas Hoult version,
right? And I'm sure Nicholas Hoult would have been good too. But
the funniest part is it would be 100% opposite, and I'd be like, no, this movie was fantastic.
Right. The second one is a scene that I've dubbed Art's Project from Terrifier 2, which I would say is the main kill scene in Terrifier 2. It is this extended sequence that goes on somewhere between 4 and 50 minutes of Art brutally murdering this one woman, and it is just a phenomenal showcase of practical effects that is really just like, for the budget they made Terrifier 2 on, some of these gore shots are just batshit crazy. And then just when you there's a moment, Paul, where during this scene, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a specific moment that I think is either going to be, you're going to be like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen, or you're going to be like, fuck this movie completely. We've got to watch it together.
Was that the TikTok that I sent you?
Maybe. Ask me later.
Yeah.
But that's a big one for me, because I just think that the craftsmanship in that scene is stellar. And then the getting the sound take scene from Babylon is probably my favorite sequence of the year. Just watching this, just trying to get a simple like scene of Margot Robbie like making a phone call in a dorm room, and it turns into this psychotic like tsunami of events of just all the different things that could possibly go wrong. And it felt like Damien Chazelle was really back in his Whiplash tenor of just these like really stressful, like kind of repetitive scenes that were just perfectly calibrated. And that to me was by far the funniest scene in any movie this year, easily, even though it was very morbid.
If anyone else ruins this scene, I'm gonna shit on you. I will shit right on you. Great scene. Paul, do you think Paul was gonna like Babylon, or do you think he's gonna hate it? Because I'm kind of like he's gonna hate it.
I'm seeing it tomorrow at 10 p.m.
I think he's gonna fall asleep, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, I'm drinking Red Bull.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's just like. I think maybe it's just gonna be overhyped for him. Like I think that's more what it is.
What hype? It's you two.
It's a lot of people like it. I think.
But you value our opinions.
Actually, I will say I will say it's you two, and Film Drunk are the only people that I know like this movie.
It's a trio.
Yeah.
So my three favorite. Okay, I tried to do these as scenes in movies that I was like, sure. But I was like, 1 second, I was like, oh yeah, fuck yes. Anthony Hopkins in The Sun. I know that seems like it should be a performance, but no, it's just the whole scene, how it was written, how it was directed, everything about it. Unlike Samantha Morton in The Whale, which I think was an okay scene, but she was just killing. Um, Also, Samantha Morton and She Said, the only moment of that movie that I was like, yes, I'm feeling something. Uh,
She said
Samantha,
he slept.
yeah, no, I made it through that movie. I was just, the fat Amish paradise sequence of Weird the Al Yankovic Story, a movie that I thought was funny, but like I had gotten to the point where I was like, I'm not into this movie anymore. I'm like good, and I'm like, I was seeing it like one of the premieres, and I was like, but I started like losing vibe, and then all of a sudden there's just this sequence, and I think it's specifically one line from Daniel Radcliffe, and it's just set up so well, and it's so funny, and Julianne Nicholson's performance is fantastic, and I just think like it's so clever in how they go, here's how we're creating this with this character. And it was it's like one of the big moments in that movie where I was like, yes, you're understanding how to do this movie. And then last one, Carson and I were debating whether or not this was considered a 2022 or a 2021 movie. I'm going to call it a 2022 because it came out in February. Cyrano. And you watch this movie and it's like very slow, very boring, with very bad singing. And I'm like so checked out. And then all of a sudden there's this sequence called Whenever I Fall. And I went and re-listened to it to see if I was still emotionally connected to this. And yes. But basically the movie just stops down. All of the characters that we've been paying attention to do not matter for about 5 minutes while we tell these three stories about people who know they're about to die in battle, and they're telling their life story, and like it's emotional and beautiful, and then you watch them as they're each taken down and you're like, this is so good. And then it goes right back to like Haley Bennett squealing out, no, Sarah, no. And I'm like, God. It really is so wild. And I was like, I wish you could just have, and that's actually why I suggested this, because I was like, it'd be great that and Anthony Hopkins. Where I was like, I wish you could just like be like, the movie's fine. This scene needs to be like remembered. I wish we would do that more. I think like, and kind of like going into our overall wrap up on this. I think one of the things that's really interesting about these kind of movies, and when we talk about things, is like I find a lot of movies to be too long and too boring, and then movies that I find to be really quick and I was connected the whole time. People are like, that's the most boring shit I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't understand it. It's how I've always been. But it I do like breaking down movies a little bit more than just like, did I like it? Did I not? Because most of the time I don't like movies. But when I talk about aspects, I really find that like, there's a lot to like. And I think that that's like overall very interesting with movies, is like even the worst movie probably has a couple of moments where you're like, oh, that's great. And even your favorite movie probably has a scene that you're like, or a line, or like a performance moment that you're like, wow, that was god awful. And it's interesting to look at that stuff.
Sure. So that's going to do it for our categories actually this time. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for you, or sorry that happened,
I thought that was beautiful.
It was
No, I'm sure it was great. I was on Twitter. Gonna be honest. So with that said, let's end this off with a little roundtable just very quickly on what are overall thoughts on 2022 in cinema as a year.
That's what I just did.
Paul, you went already. Michael, did you like this year?
Well, when
now you know how I edit these podcasts also. Paul starts talking.
Right.
Oops, scan. Great.
Well, you know, a lot of the time when I think a movie is too long and too boring, people will sorry. Okay. So,
What a great point, Michael. Wow, what an original great point.
I think like what I was saying earlier is that to me, this was the year where all the really like loopy, big swing, like deep COVID movies came out. And it was really interesting to see just what everyone attempted to do under those circumstances and to see how some filmmakers really excelled in those limitations and maybe in the case of someone like Michael Bay violated them and, like how like some like kind of felt hamstrung by that. And I think it was just really interesting because I think this was the first year where like society's reaction and like the trauma of the pandemic was starting to kind of trickle into our entertainment, whether it be in a direct way like
The Bubble.
right, like but the I was just about to say whether it be like something like The Bubble or Glass Onion, or something even like Barbarian, like all these weird like psychotic, or Pearl. That Pearl is a better example because Pearl has so much subtext about the pandemic. You're really starting to see, I think, like a generational perspective start to take shape this year, and I thought that was really amazing to see, more so than like the really established filmmakers making their like awards treatises. Like as much as like they were okay, like movies like Banshees or Tar, they were just not my they're just not my cup of tea as much this year. I was more this was a year for the crazies for me.
I agree. I think this is actually like a remarkably strong year in cinema when you really like get past the big names. I think a lot of the big names really disappointed. I think like especially the directors I love. There's so many directors, and this has been a few years now where like I will love a director. I love their filmography. So excited for the new, insert director, Wes Anderson, Scott Cooper. Um, wow, can I think of any examples from this year? Taika Waititi, let's say, and like they're just bad. But then you have so many like fun, unique names that are really popping up that I really dig. I think it is a strong year of cinema, but for the vast majority of the big films, like you said, I mean, I'm not that interested. I don't have that much passion towards something like, you know, pretty much everything people are talking about. I do love Elvis, I do like Morbius. I think it's fun. Sorry.
Oh yes, all
Yeah.
the movies people are talking about. Oh, that
Those are
was
ones I
another one I
like.
watched. Yeah, so my year-end wrap-up was Spirited, Morbius, and Bros.
2 out of 3.
We should have done a
Here's the
crossover.
thing.
More broius.
I'm sorry. There's people
Billy
online who are
Eichner
like
as Morbius.
Eternals. People are like Eternals is so fun. Wow. Wow, Shang-Chi, that's such a fun film. No, they're not. They're just boring. You know what was fun? Morbius. It was just Jared Leto being a vampire, and it was camp, and it was fun. Can we just have actual fun in theaters? Probably not, but I can. Cool. Well, that's going to do it for the main conversation. For some reason, this went on for like so long, but that's totally okay.
I mean, we were talking about like
Let's
3,000 things.
That's true. Let's go to our question of the week, which is instead of 2020, let's look forward to 2023. What is a 2023 film you are looking forward to? Like, what are you most looking forward to? Um, Paul, you can start us off. What are you looking forward to? Because I genuinely have no idea what you're going to say.
Yeah, you fucking don't. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
Valid.
I love that for
Valid.
you.
Valid.
Listen, I have not enjoyed a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles anything in so long, and you don't understand. Like in my parents' garage, there are like 300 boxes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys. Fun, quick story, very quick. The Ninja Turtles were popular in the 80s. I was born in the 90s. My parents were poor, so they realized that the thing they could do is get me interested in something that was already over, and so they would be able to get them from the clearance section, and so they got me very interested in Ninja Turtle. So I had every Ninja Turtle toy from the clearance section. It was very cool, but it also meant that I suddenly have these like Gen X like love of something that like is not my generation. So I've always been off with all of it. and I've never enjoyed anything else they really did past the original Archie cartoons. But I also know that like it can be dark and gritty and crazy, and so I'm excited because I think that they might actually do it this time. Because they have enough kids properties that I think they might try an adult one.
I've heard it's like
The only thing-
Spider-Verse-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I've ever seen from that franchise was the second live action film, and I did not like it.
The Secret of the Ooze.
You know,
That's
I think it's Out of the
horrifying.
Shadows. I don't really know.
No. He's not talking about the originals.
Oh,
He's talking about
I'm talking about the new one.
The Bay.
Oh my gosh. That's what we should do. We should make you watch through, because you would be like, what are these? They are so weird, especially the third
90s ones? Oh, yeah. No.
Where they go back to Japan in the like 1800s for no reason. Carson,
Love that.
Carson, you may actually love it.
What's also really funny, what's also hilarious is that the animatronics get worse as the series go on. Like because
they use the same ones.
Right. They start like pretty convincing and pretty good, especially for the time. And then by the end, they're like, "Hello, it's me."
I'm gonna love these films.
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna give it like 4 stars.
The first one is genuinely good. I would say.
See, the second one's my favorite. But
how many are there?
There's 3.
3.
Oh, that's an easy night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm currently trying to watch every Barbie film ahead of Barbie, but valid. Michael, what are you picking for your most anticipated?
I've got 3.
Spider-Verse. Okay, well, it's a tweet, so we really need 1. So give us 1 and then give us your honorable mentions.
For sure. Okay, so Spider-Verse 2 is going to be my big one because I just think that
Michael's winning this.
I just think that Spider-Verse really showed the entire superhero genre up, if we're being honest. Like, I saw that first movie and it honestly, I was being like, this must have felt like what The Matrix felt like in 1999. Like, I really felt like technology and spectacle was pushed forward with that movie, and I just know they're going to raise the bar even higher. And my honorable mentions are Magic Mike's Last Dance, because Magic Mike XXL is one of my favorite movies, and Oppenheimer, which I thought was going to be Christopher Nolan's Mank, but from the looks of that trailer, it looks like Christopher Nolan's There Will Be Blood. And I'm really irritated by the fact that the trailer they showed on Avatar IMAX showings is a million times better than the trailer they released online, which was a little bit aggravating. But Oppenheimer shot to the top of my top 10 or anticipated list after that trailer.
Love that for you. I think the easy answer for me is, I'm not going with this, but like my true honest answer is Barbie. But I feel like that's boring because everyone says that. So I'm going to go Wonka. Like the musical prequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, from the director who made the Paddington films, starring Timothée Chalamet. Like, this is one very me. I'm gonna love it. I imagine everyone else will probably hate it, but like, I'm gonna be singing the songs. I'm gonna be giving it definitely probably the winning costume design. At least he has a hat made out of chocolate according to the set photos. Like, very here for this. So no, I am excited for Barbie, but like, I'm gonna go Wonka because I want to be more original.
Paul King doing Doll is so good.
I will. Oh yeah. I was going to say the one thing that is surprising I would add is my like additional one is I'm excited about Guardians 3 because here's the thing. Personally, there's a very specific reason. I think it is the end of the MCU for me, like emotionally connected at all. Like, I was looking at all of the new people and I was like, yeah, sure. These movies now exist. But like, Guardians is the last one of like the original group in any way that matters. So it's like, okay, I'll watch that. And also I love Lila. I think Rocket's little girlfriend is the cutest part of the entire Guardians mythos. And yeah, I'll enjoy myself, and then I will be like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore.
I fully agree with you. Actually, I've had that thought before, because like, and it's also James Gunn post 2 weeks notice. He's not going to give a shit. He's going to go AWOL in that fucking movie, and I can't.
Yeah, I fully expect it to be crazy.
Yeah.
I also need, I guess I'll throw out Saw 10. I'm very excited. Saw X, let's be clear.
They're not making it.
Yeah, no, and they're
not making another one.
They are, and
Tobin it comes out.
Yeah, Tobin Bell and the girl who plays Amanda are back too. I think it takes place between Saw 2 and Saw 3, so it could be like the actual series and not Jigsaw's nephew's cousin's assistant.
Well, they all take place during a 1 week. I also will say A Haunting in Venice. Very excited for After Death on the Nile.
Is that next year? I thought that was 2024.
No, it's coming out October 2023. Apparently.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which I'm very excited for. I also must say the new Hunger Games. I just rewatched Catching Fire. That was my tween, like, middle school fandom, was the Hunger Games. So I really am here for it, even though I expect it to be terrible.
Catching Fire is the second one. That one's okay.
You know what?
Yeah, I think they get worse as they go. I think the first one's better, but
I've got one other one that I do want to bring up really quick, and there's no like footage or anything yet from it, but it's Yorgos Lanthimos' next movie, Poor Things. That's like a Emma Frankenstein style story, but it has Emma Stone in the lead, and it has Willem Dafoe, who Paul hates, of course, and Mark Ruffalo and Christopher Abbott and Margot Qualley and Gerard Carmichael and all these amazing people, and it just sounds like a great kind of like gothic comedy thriller. And I after The Favorite, Yorgos is at the top, and also personal pick for me, Bradley Cooper's Maestro. Dying to see that, even though I'm sure it'll be boring as shit to everyone else. I love Bradley Cooper.
I already got my Maestro movie, so I don't care.
Which one?
Tar. I don't know why I talked shit about Tar. I fucking love Tar.
Does Joker 2 come out this year, or is that next year?
No, it's 24.
Okay, well, I have to. That's gonna be like a real struggle.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot,
because it has everything I hate, but then it has Gaga, and like, if I'm gonna be there for House of Gucci, I have to be there for Joker 2, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a real struggle.
No, I agree.
Cool. Well, let's end this with any rapid reviews. I don't think there should be many, because
I don't have any.
The Pale Bluest Eye was okay. I think it's bad as a mystery. Watch it on Netflix. And then I think that's it. I have nothing else. Michael, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just watched White Noise. I know you said that you hated it. I thought that it was very ambitious. I really like Baumbach, and I really like what he was trying to do. I think the first half was great, and then everything after a certain point, when, let's just say, the plot that we were watching comes to a stop, and it decides to be a movie about the pharmaceutical industry out of nowhere, is where I think... which is where I think it sort of takes a turn. But I did think it was quirky and ambitious and very good looking as well. Definitely one of his most well shot movies.
Paul, I genuinely think it would be like 1 star. Like, I feel
absolutely.
Maybe I'll watch it then. I love shitting on things that everyone else enjoys.
And I do have one hot take, which is that I've now tried and failed to watch Decision to Leave twice. I cannot get into that movie. I think it's so trite. It's just like
now I'm curious. Wait, what is it on?
It's on.
I think
movie. It's on.
I think
movie.
you might love Decision to Leave, Paul. Like, I do genuinely.
Okay, we'll see.
Like it. But probably not.
I want to see it.
I have no idea what you'll like, apparently. So that's going to be it for this episode of ClapperCast. Where can we find everyone on social media, Paul?
At Price Like Tag on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
Michael?
At the King of Burbank on TikTok, Twitter, Letterboxd, etc. Wherever you can type in King of Burbank, it's probably there. And you can find me on Twitter at BP_reviews.
OnlyFans.
It does really sound like an OnlyFans handle, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd, and then you can find the podcast everywhere you find podcasts, plus YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. We'll see you next week, because we're back with a real review for Megan. She is coming on January 6th, and I could not be more excited as a gay man. I'm going to be there cheering, screaming.
Oh, God.
And Where was Megan on January 6th?
I hope she was in the Capitol. I would support it. I don't care.
That's the most subtle joke, but it's such a funny release date. It's so cool.
Oh, it's great. It's perfect.
So
Goodbye.
Good.